everyone, wherever you are joining from. Thank you for tuning in this session and spending the next 30 minutes here with me. Today, I'm going to share about the key to thrive in the digital future, how COVID-19 has pushed digitalization from being a nice to have to a must have. It feels wonderful for me to be here with everyone, spending some quality time together and share my thoughts, and hopefully some can inspire you differently. First of all, I'm very glad you're here with me, not because you're here to listen to me talk, it's because that means you have an open mind to learn new things and you are willing to adapt in the fast changing world. Fortunately, what I do in the digital marketing field gives me the ongoing access to the things that are cutting edge, disruptive, and innovative. When it comes to those tools and technologies, I enjoy leveraging them to bring fascinating results and numbers to impress my clients and prospects. However, the year of 2020 gives me a very different perspective on how we as human beings should understand and work with advanced technologies. Because let's face it, technology is the future. In my new book, I define it as a destiny. Whatever we're going through right now, it's not out of blue. And one thing that everyone is wondering about is what's ahead of us, right? We, as the generations that are inexperienced with the pandemic, have certainly underestimated what the coronavirus could have done to the world. Even without everything that is going on right now, we are living in such a fast changing world that nothing will last long without changing. You can name it: your business model, your working skill sets, your cell phone systems, anything that is not even that. What's more crazy about it is the time span for every transformation is also getting shorter and shorter. So my goal here today is to share some valuable real-time insights and information that hopefully could serve as a timely guide to help everyone during this challenging period and moving forward to really think differently and to be bold enough to experiment outside of the box to find solutions. Because if you're still trying to use the old key, the same old key to open up the door of the digital future, then most likely it won't work. My name is Isabella. I am the Chief Operating Officer at the Creative House, and I'm also the Operations Director at the New York Marketing Association. In my free time, I like to do some high stand to rejuvenating my brain. I also like to drink some dry, smoky red wines, not white, only red, and outdoor activities like hikings. By hiking, I'm talking about those really difficult ones. That you really need to sweat it out and out of your breath, climbing with your hands and toes, going through a really hard suffering period of the time, and then eventually reach the summit to enjoy that rewarding time. I guess the reason I like the process so much is because it applies to our lifetime, our daily life 100%. I used it as a reminder to remind myself that great things do not come easy, especially when the world is evolving on this constantly base nowadays. I am desperately want to help everyone, including myself, to find new ways to navigate, to reimagine, to thrive in the fast changing world. What that involves is to begin with a change within ourselves, to be open and to be observant. Resistance will not help. Leveraging what's coming, what's emerging to serve your businesses, to serve your clients, to serve our humanity, to be sustainable is the key. When I work with our clients at Creative House, I really enjoy and proud is that I indulge my days to humanize the world by leveraging the power of technology combined with our human intelligence so that companies can break through in challenging situations like what we're going through right now. Things have changed dramatically in the past 12 months. And there is no way back. If you look at human history, humans never move backwards. There is only moving forward. How does that moving forward look like? That's what we're going to talk about here today. So here's the truth. Number one, we are in the midst of the worst humanitarian challenges since a century that causes an imminent restructuring of the society and global economic order. And moving forward, the key question is for all of us, it's are we ready? Are you ready for the next? In order to answer that, we need to fully aware of what situation we're in, what future could look like, and what we can do to be prepared. Because the reality is that we are dealing with what we're dealing with in these coming ages, like years, is not going to allow us to take our time, notice the changes, learn the skills, and then adapt to figure out what's going on and so forth. We are living on the scheme of survival of prepared. So here's the truth number two. What that means is basically if you are prepared, you will survive and thrive. Otherwise, you will not be part of the future. The good news is that we're not that lost, right? We're not like lost in the desert. We have a choice here, or we have a chance here to foresee many things. There is enough resources, information out there to help us as long as we're open enough to take the action. Whether you are an individual or a business owner or a company leader, the key to win, to thrive in the coming age is agility. So you really have to make the right decision really in time and take the right action also in time as well. So if you're ready, let's do it. Almost, okay, almost every recession, it's a great accelerator and an equalizer. As you can see from this graphic, this was originally brought up back in around 2012 by Mary Meeker. The statistics were based on the United States. It's a very simple fact that during the past 100 years, every economical recession it's followed by a fast-track adoption of new technologies and services. Please pay attention here. New technologies and services, there are two messages that I'm sending here. Number one, there is a wave of opportunities. Number two, new things will wipe out old things. It has happened in 1930 with AM radio, early 2000 with internet, and around 2008, 2009-ish with mobile internet, smartphones. During the recession period, one thing is that the technologies were growing at an exponential rate. And second is that the adoption rate successfully exceeded 60% of the US population during that period of time. And now coming to us, it's another wave, exponential ramp up of something very different caused by COVID-19 recession. Before COVID-19 actually even hit us, as you can see, technologies have already been booming. Everything has becoming digital with the growth of technologies. The lightning speed of change driven by technologies has taken us from digital age toward a new reality called the fourth industrial revolution, which is a fusion of digital, physical, and biological. But even with that, the digitalization process did not turn out as good as it should be. For various reasons, the digital transformation efforts has been running into roadblocks among confusion, delusion, and resistance to change. Okay, so I guess maybe the coronavirus overheard the issue, right? So he decided to show up and help. He's like, let me show you guys how fast this transition can be done. Then, boom, the growth of e-commerce during the quarter one 2020 has surpassed what it is for the past 10 years. The COVID literally forwards the world 10 years in just 90 days time. All of a sudden, digitalization has become a reality in many, many ways and a necessity for all of us who still wants to, right, operates in the world. Unless you just want to stay home doing nothing, right, you don't have to be go on digital. So this is the best multiple choice question that I had to share because it's just so true. Who led the digital transformation in your company? Is it the CEO, CTO, CGO, CFO? No, it's the COVID-19. I know some of you might be thinking at this point, oh, well, this could be temporary. It's just a temporary setback. Once the vaccination catch up, eventually we'll be back to normal. During my book writing process, I've interviewed dozens of futurists and forward thinkers. Some of them are the CEOs or the founders of today's leading technology companies. When I asked them, what makes you think that the 2020 pandemic is very unique, special, and worth talking? Why is that? How is the 2020 pandemic different than other crises that have happened in our human history? So the answer is, it's not that we never experienced these kind of crisis or transformation before. In fact, the whole human history is full of such transformations. A quick overview of these major transformations in human history spans across from being hunters and gatherers to living in clusters now known as the cities, to reshaping the world with agricultural revolutions and then saving the humanity in the name of industrial revolutions we mentioned above, the fourth industrial revolutions. One important aspect of all these transformation is that these that should not be overlooked is the fact that such milestones that change the way we as Homo sapiens we have learned to live, to practice our lives, did not occur just overnight. There were no shortcuts whatsoever. Never before has it ever occurred to a human being that you go to bed and wake up in the morning into an entirely transformed world, and just all of a sudden, surprisingly, that's exactly what happened with COVID-19. Within a few months in, humans have abandoned the way of living that we've developed and followed for thousands of years and just completely shift into a different mode, virtual. We are dealing with a historical evolution that meant to shape the world into something different. The drastic digital transformation is triggered by three drivers. Number one, consumer habits, irreversible behavior shift, and mindset shift with all the video conferencing, e-commerce, digital activities. Regulation is catching up with data and privacy, third-party cookie policy, and investment from public sectors to private sectors. We'll cover that in a few slides to see how our investors are making their investment decision based on the emerging trends. All three drivers together trigger the super digitalization. The wave of super digitalization stimulates and pushes through a massive technology movement. As I mentioned earlier, we've already entered the fourth industrial revolution, where we need to understand and work closely with things that are physical, biological, and digital. And the only way we can do it is by working with technologies. The radical change from the rise of contact-free economy forced things to operate digitally, which enables emerging technologies to gain momentum, especially in some areas. Based on the latest 2021 report from ARK Investment, the research has shown that Bitcoin could scale from $500 billion to a $1 to $5 trillion market in the network capitalization. VR, virtual reality, the revenue from virtual world could approach a $400 billion market. And by the way, again, all these numbers that we're talking about is not 7 years from now, 10 years from now, or 20 years from now. It's literally 3 to 5 years from where we are now. Electric vehicle sales could also increase roughly 20-fold from 2.2 million in 2020 to 40 million units in 2025. 3D printing will revolutionize manufacturing, growing at an annual rate of roughly 60% from 12 billion last year to $120 billion. At the beginning of this year, 2021, the first 3D printing house was listed for sale in Long Island, New York. It's America's first 3D printed house with a 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and 2 garages. The house is listed for only $300,000, which is priced 50% below the cost of comparable newly constructed homes around the same area, thanks to the 3D printing technology. Digital wallets are valued between $250 to $1,900 per users today, but could scale up to $20,000 per user, representing a 4.6 trillion opportunities in the US by 2025. Though some of these are still at its infancy stage, right? 2020 could prove to be a decisive point in these particular areas, which are transforming the way we're living. So based on what I mentioned above, next thing I'm gonna share is some big thoughts. Big thoughts number 1, AI takes over. Traditionally, humans programmed all softwares. Deep learning is a form of artificial intelligence. AI uses data to write software. In 2020, deep learning powered almost all large-scale internet services, including search, social media, and video recommendations. In the next 5 to 10 years, the most important software will be created by deep learning. Deep learning could be the most important software breakthrough of our time. Here's an example of how AI can translate legal paperwork into plain languages in English. Imagine you have to spend hours to understand what is showing on the left-hand side with the white lighter background text messages, and all of a sudden you could just get it like that by the help with AI to translate into very plain languages that you don't have to try so hard to interpret. And aside from that, AI can also design website, code, translate in languages, diagnose disease, and much more. Big thought number 2, robots, cobots, and drones. From the last decade, the surgical robots installation growth has gone skyrocket worldwide. And that's not it, because if you take a closer look at the similar the smaller one, the graphic that, if you remember, we talked about at the very beginning, the analytics statistics by Mary Meeker, the adoption for certain technologies will ramp up exponentially during the crisis. We're still at the beginning of the growth curve, and most likely the robot technology growth will follow the same pattern to continue ramping up. E-commerce giants have already rolling out robot deliveries during the pandemic to avoid human contact. We also run into these robots nowadays everywhere at the supermarket, hospitals, restaurants, and hotels. According to IBM report, 120 million workers will need retraining due to these cute robots. What we see in this photo, it's already happening around our lives and many places, and will increase much more quickly than we realize. Big thought number 3, virtual reality is the new reality. The outbreak has shaken up the landscape of the society. What we feel most relevant probably is the remote work style that we adopt almost overnight. All of a sudden, we're heavily relying on technologies, tools for remote work. Many of us are working from home, including myself. Kids are running around and starting their distant learning just via platforms like Zoom or other teaching tools. My friend also scheduled her first ever virtual diagnosis with her family doctor. All of these would not be possible without virtual technologies, including meeting platforms such as Zoom, Cisco, Skype, Google Hangout, cloud technologies, VPNs, working collaboration tools like Slack, Trello. All these technologies are spiking in demand due to our remote work lifestyle. Google has extended their remote work policy to September 2021. Schools in Chicago officially announced that their 2021 courses will be all conducted online. Twitter employees can now work from home forever. Those decisions say a lot in terms of how the world looks like in the next few years or so. It's very likely that remote work style will become part of our living even after the pandemic. Virtual reality also enables live virtual events, product showcase, open houses, and training for high-risk jobs such as construction site. Over the past few years, companies such as Snapchat, Facebook, and Apple have increased their investment in augmented reality, AR, encouraging widespread use of AR tools on mobile devices. By 2030, the AR market could scale from under $1 billion today to $130 billion by 2030. Digital payment technology is another big trend. Due to COVID-19, people started using less and less cash to avoid the contact to reduce the chances to get the virus. In the most countries, ATM transactions have decreased significantly. The fact that the pandemic is driving digital payments is no doubt. It's clear. The bigger question is, will the behavior outlast? In my opinion, yes, it will. Today, digital wallets are beginning to penetrate the full traditional financial services and become a global phenomenon. The volume of mobile payments in China has exploded more than 15 times in just 5 years, from roughly $2 trillion in 2015 to an estimate of $36 trillion, nearly 3 times the size of China's GDP in 2020. In this case, China is the best example to showcase how convenient life could be because of the digital payment. The rapid growth of social networks and e-commerce platforms has transformed the way people communicate and how to transact in China. What's so funny is that in China, you can live without a wallet, but you cannot live without a smartphone, because all the transactions are being done digitally over the phones. Many places don't even accept cash anymore. People love it because it's seamless, traceable, and more manageable. The digital payment we're talking about here is a very simple scannable QR code in your e-wallet that is linked directly to your bank account for you to pay and receive money. And the services are implemented everywhere from high-end restaurants to small vendors like food trucks on the street. On the right-hand side, you can see how does the all-inclusive e-wallet system looks like on two biggest payment platform in China, WeChat and Alipay by Alibaba. It covers almost everything from utility bills, transportations, entertainment, and home services. Big thought number 5, data center revolution. There is a tons of data generating every minute of our lives. It's astonishing how IoT, it's short for Internet of Things, connects anything to everything. No matter where you are, what you do, your every action over the Internet produces trails of information from different sources, and the data just generating literally 24/7 nonstop. This overwhelming, massive, and complex data is called the big data. And the complications that arose with it gave rise to the cloud storage and computing. The next challenge is how to understand the big data and turn them into actionable insights. With all the digital solutions supported by cloud-based technologies, according to Microsoft, there is a 775% spike in cloud services during the pandemic. Along with that, edge computing is also highly demanded. The image that can show you how cloud and edge computing are connected and working between each other. Edge computing is used to process time-sensitive data, while cloud computing is used to process data that is not time-driven. Unlike cloud computation, edge computation is performed on distributed device to reduce processing speed and security concerns. If we look at the history from the era of internet, where we used to still count down data center to store all the information, and then the power shifted to cloud as we enter the era of mobile because of smartphones. And now we're actually taking off to the age of objects where everything could be connected to the edge server through internet and interact with the cloud. Things such as your doorknob, your car, your watch, your washing machine, your lighting, even our human body. Compared to cloud computing, edge computing can improve the response time significantly and to save bandwidth. Okay, last but not the least, is the blockchain technology, which I personally consider it as the most interesting technology that is applicable across the industries on different layers. You probably think about Bitcoin right now. Blockchain is much more than just Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency that is powered by blockchain technology. And blockchain itself is a decentralized, distributed database that records the provenance of a digital asset. Today, the whole time we've been talking about how the future is developing around the whole digitalization realm, everything is turning digital. And blockchain is the revolutionary technology that allows us to own digital assets and data in the most secure and transparent way. The drastic transformation, along with the emerging technology, brings the shifts in skills as well. So here are the top skills that are in huge demand moving forward. Under the hard skill, we see digital marketing, artificial intelligence, machine learning, data analytics and data science, cloud and edge computing. With the massive technology development, soft skills are as essential as the hard skill and deserve special attention, such as creativity, critical thinking, persuasion, empathy, emotional intelligence, and personally, I strongly believe that soft skills are much more important and crucial compared to hard skills. With this growing artificial intelligence and technology power, why is that? Unfortunately, we don't have the time here today to open up about it, but I highly recommend everyone to read, to research about it, and get a better sense of why soft skills are much needed and important in the future world. Because the world we're going through is constantly changing, radically changing, especially with the rising digital transformations and technology innovations. We just can't sleep on that anymore. It's urging us to reimagine the way the world is working and to be prepared. As an individual or a company, a organization, the only way to do that is through a continued reskilling and upskilling process. So here we go with the truth number 3. Today's infinite learning is a foundational element of the larger upscaling movement. The expansion of people's capabilities and employability to fulfill the talent needs of a rapidly changing digital economy. Now, let's finish up with some key takeaways from today. Cool? COVID-19 stimulates super digitalization and enables new technology era. We should pay attention to conscious technology trends, robotics, machine learning, ambience interface, and also develop to dominate the technology to learn to take control instead of vice versa. Super digitalization leads to radical transformation in different sectors from education, government, healthcare, finance, to many other different areas. For businesses, it will take time and it will not be a quick fix, to be honest, but timing is everything. Start doing now. Start learning, adjusting, adapting. Agility is the key. Data as a critical resource with unprecedented volume and velocity. We need to learn how to turn massive data into meaningful insights. Infinite learning is to reskill and upskill. That's the only way to fulfill the talent needs of a rapidly changing digital economy. Since we're still at the very early stage, the regulations are still catching up. We need to be aware and be prepared for all kinds of security issues. Finally, in every adversity lies the seed of an equal or greater opportunity. Remember, we are witnessing a historical moment that a lot of things are meant to be changed. Open up to grab as much information as possible to back up your gut feeling and trust yourself. The future is for those who can think bold and act fast. I will end the session with one of my favorite quotes from Charles Darwin. Full disclosure, I actually disagree with many things that this guy said, but not this one. It is not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change. And now it's the time. Thank you very much all. Feel free to get in touch if you'd like to chat more and to be connected. Here's my email address, isabella@creativehouse digital.marketing. You can also find me on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook by searching my full name, Isabella Wang. I look forward to connecting with all of you. Thank you very much. Please stay safe and take care.